This is a study of 1 Kings chapter 14. At this time in the history, the nation has split, with Jeroboam, who is a descendant of Joseph from the house of Ephraim, to the north with 10 tribes, and Rehoboam, who is the son of Solomon, in the south with the houses of Judah and with neighboring Benjamin. Now, Jeroboam has been very jealous and untrustful of the Israelites. He did not want them to go to Jerusalem to worship on the 3 major feast days. So more for political reasons than any other, he had 2 golden calves made, one in Bethel and the other one in the tribe of Dan, which would have been to the far north. They were quite popular, so popular, in fact, that some of the Israelites went both places to worship. Now, we had a prophet to come through, and we had a prophet who was a pretended prophet, and the prophet, the real prophet of Judah, was told to go back, but he did not. He went to the home of the fake prophet, and there had been a prophecy that the bones of those serving as priests would be burned on these altars in the north. And the 2, the fake prophet and the one who'd failed to go back to Judah, were buried in the same grave. And 360 plus years later, when Josiah is the king, he read about these 2 on their sepulcher, and they were spared the burning of their bones on the altar. So the prophecy will come true. Chapter 14, verse 1. At that time, Abiah, the son of Jeroboam, fell sick. Now, we are never told, either in this book or the Chronicles, what kind of illness he had, just that it was serious. 2. And Jeroboam said to his wife, "Arise, I pray thee, and disguise thyself, that thou be not known as the wife of Jeroboam, and get thee to Shiloh. Behold, there is Ahiah the prophet, which told me I should be king over this people." And that is true. Back a bit in this book, we learned that this prophet wore a robe, and it was cut into 12 pieces, and 10, representing the 10 tribes, were given to Jeroboam. 3. And take with thee 10 loaves and cracknels and a cruse of honey. Go to him, he shall tell thee what shall become of the child. These gifts, a cracknel would be a cake. These are small gifts that a commoner might offer to a prophet. A king would likely have offered precious metals and stones. Even though he is leading false worship, he has turned to a true prophet to get a prophecy about his son. 4. And Jeroboam's wife did so, and arose and went to Ahiah, but Ahiah could not see, for his eyes were set by reason of his age. So here we will have a prophet who is physically blind, but we will certainly see that he is not spiritually blind. 5. We're going to have the Lord interfere here and communicate with this prophet. And the Lord said unto Ahiah, Behold, the wife of Jeroboam cometh to ask a thing of thee for her son, for he is sick. Thus and thus shalt thou say unto her, for it shall be when she cometh in that she shall feign herself to be another woman. So Ahiah knows the entire scheme that is supposedly set forth by Jeroboam. Now, it would have been a great sin to deceive a prophet of God, and it would have been equal to attempting to deceive God himself. And certainly God has stepped in, and she will not get away with it. 6. And it was so, when Ahiah heard the sound of her feet as she came in at the door, that he said, Come in, thou wife of Jeroboam. Why feignest thou thyself to be another? For I am sent to thee with heavy tidings. So he tells her, he recognizes who she is, and he is unfortunately going to give her some bad news. 7. Go tell Jeroboam, thus saith the Lord God of Israel, forasmuch as I exalted thee from among the people and made thee prince over my people Israel. 8. And rent the kingdom away from the house of David and gave it to thee, and yet thou hast not been as my servant David, who kept my commandments and who followed me with all his heart, to do that only which was right in mine eyes. Now we know that David committed 2 capital sins, adultery and a first-degree murder, both a violation of commandments. However, he never ceased to love God, and he asked for forgiveness. And in fact, an entire psalm is devoted to his gratitude for that forgiveness which he had. And of course, all the kings were measured by the yardstick of David. 9. But hast done evil above all that were before thee, for thou hast gone and made thee other gods and molten images to provoke me to anger, and hast cast me behind thy back. Now he had violated the first 2 commandments. He had the very first one, thou shalt have no other God before me, and the second, that there shall not be any graven images. That cast me behind thy back, Ezekiel 3:35 uses that same phrase, and it is treated with scorn and contempt. In other words, God has said, you have treated me in a voluptuous manner, way, way distant from that love that David displayed always for the Lord. 10. Therefore, behold, I will bring evil upon the house of Jeroboam, and will cut off from Jeroboam him that pisseth against the wall, and him that is shut up and left in Israel, and will take away the remnant of the house of Jeroboam, as a man taketh away dung till it be all gone. Now that pisseth against the wall, of course, means men, and there will be calamity. He is going to cut off and take away any remnant and be carried away as dung might be carried out of a barn. And shut up there means to think he's safe and he can't hide from God. God is saying there can be no hiding from the Almighty. Him that dieth of Jeroboam, in the city shall the dogs eat, and him that dieth in the field shall the fowls of the air eat, for the Lord hath spoken it. So none of these persons who will die will get a decent burial, and that is one of the curses that is lined out in Deuteronomy 28. The curse of failure to get a decent burial, and it's because of the sin of false worship. 12. Arise thou therefore, and get thee to thine own house, and when thy feet shall enter into the city, the child shall die. Abiah, speaking to the wife of Jeroboam, go home, and as soon as you enter the city, your child will die. 13. And all Israel shall mourn for him and bury him, for he only of Jeroboam shall come to the grave, because in him there is found some good thing toward the Lord God of Israel in the house of Jeroboam. So this child will get a decent burial, and because there was some good in him, and it's implied that there was none in Jeroboam. 14. Moreover, the Lord shall raise him up a king over Israel, who shall cut off the house of Jeroboam that day, but what? Even now. Jeroboam's progeny will be cut off from the succession to the throne. 15. For the Lord shall smite Israel as a reed as is shaken in water, and he shall root up Israel out of this good land which he gave to their fathers, and shall scatter them beyond the river, because they have made their groves, those groves where they held fertility rites and orgies and worship false gods, provoking the Lord to anger. Deuteronomy 29, verses 26 through 28, Moses warned that if the people do not follow God, he will scatter them. They are also warned in Joshua 23 Verses 15 and 16, that they can be scattered, and beyond that river that is the Euphrates. And the Euphrates, of course, is the border between Babylon and Israel. And up through the years, the 10 tribes of the north will be carried away by the Assyrians over the Caucasus Mountains, called Caucasians, will settle Western Europe, migrate to Canada and to the United States, the lost tribe, most having no idea who they are. Now, the 2 sticks will be joined together, but not until way out in the future, when Jesus returns as Lord of Lords and King of Kings. Verse 16, and he shall give Israel up because of the sins of Jeroboam, who did sin and who made Israel to sin. As a leader goes, so goes the nation. Jeroboam led them into the worship of 2 golden calves, and they did turn their back on God. Verse 17, and Jeroboam's wife arose and departed and came to Tirzah. And when she came to the threshold of the door, the child died. And this is the capital of the 10 tribes. Later, 18, and they buried him, and all Israel mourned for him, according to the word of the Lord, which he spake by the hand of his servant Ahiah the prophet. So it went exactly as the prophet said, and of course the prophet spoke what the Lord told him to speak. It was fulfilled. And the rest of the acts of Jeroboam, how he warred and how he reigned, behold, they are written in the book of the Chronicles of the Kings of Israel. And particularly, it is written in 2 Chronicles chapter 13. And the days which Jeroboam reigned were 22 years, and he slept with his fathers, and Nadab his son reigned in his stead. In biblical numerics, that number 22 is associated with disorganization, and it's also associated with an evil king named Ahab, whose wife was the infamous Jezebel. And we learn in that chapter in 2 Chronicles that the Lord struck Jeroboam down. 21. And Rehoboam, we're talking now about Judah, and Rehoboam, the son of Solomon, reigned in Judah. Rehoboam was 41 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 17 years in Jerusalem, the city which the Lord did choose out of all the tribes of Israel to put his name there. And his mother's name was Naamah, an Ammonite. Now, Ammonites, they were descendants of Ammon, who was a son of Lot, who was Abraham's nephew, and also the Moabites were descendants of Lot. And they were yes, descendants of Abraham, the family of Abraham, but they were heathen worshippers. They did not turn to the true Lord. 22. And Judah did evil in the sight of the Lord, and they provoked him to jealousy with their sins, which they had committed above all that their fathers had done. So they have outdone anyone past in that tribe of Judah and Benjamin. And I might also add that Levitical priests were divided amongst all the tribes, and any priest worth his salt, when the calves in the north were erected, they would have fled down to Judah. 23. For they also built high places and images and groves on every high hill and under every green tree, Asherah, pearl groves, every, to emphasize that there were many of them. Grove worship, orgies, fertility rites, idols, and false worship. 24. And there were also Sodomites in the land, and they did according to all the abominations of the nations which the Lord cast out before the children of Israel. Now these would have been Canaanites before Israel crossed. The Sodomites would have been male prostitutes. 25. And it came to pass in the 5th year of King Rehoboam that Shishak, king of Egypt, came up against Jerusalem, the very capital. And we learn in Chronicles, 2nd Chronicles, that before he came against Jerusalem, he came against and took some fortified cities. And 26, he took away the treasures of the house of the Lord and the treasures of the king's house. He even took away all, and he took away all the shields of gold which Solomon had made. And if you remember in the reign of Solomon, when we studied in those chapters, that gold was plentiful and silver was not anything more than just a rock. And now it's being hauled away by Shishak. And King Rehoboam made in their stead brazen shields and committed them into the hands of the chief of the guard, which kept the door of the king's house. So he has runners that went out before him, and brazen, that would have been copper. So no more gold, it's been stolen. 28. And it was so, when the king went into the house of the Lord, that the guard bare them and brought them back into the guard chamber. So these would have been runners, and they would have not been in that forest of Lebanon, that house of the king that took an entire forest to build. So there would have been none there. They would have been moved. 29. And the rest of the acts of Rehoboam and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah? Yes, they are. 2 Chronicles and chapter 12, verse 30. And there was war between Rehoboam and Jeroboam all their days. Now, this was not an all out and out war, but they were just skirmishes here and there. 31 to complete this chapter. And Rehoboam slept with his fathers and was buried with his fathers in the city of David in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Naamah, an Ammonitess, and Abiam his son reigned in his stead. Very rarely do we get a mention of a female name. I think possibly it's important to know that Solomon brought in all these wives, and Rehoboam's mother, although she was technically of the house of Israel, she was from a tribe of heathen worshippers. Please join me next time when we will continue study of the book of 1 Kings. Thank you for watching.